for me. Take a sip of paradise. Here below the lights, all the people looking up. Overhead, a billion fires reflecting in my eyes. We got everything we need. I got you and you got me. We can dance until the lights fall down. I feel alive. I got forever in my eyes. This is all I need. Oh, I got everything when you're by my side. Another ultraviolet night. This is all I need. Oh, I got everything. Fever on your breath. We can run past all the stops. Runaways, we're looking up. Chasing another sign. Oh, we do it right. Soaking up the painted sky. Overhead, a billion fires reflecting in your eyes. We got everything we need. I got you and you got me. We can dance until the lights.
Welcome, everyone. Happy almost Friday. I'm Nate with AWE, and first and foremost, want to thank you all for tuning in today to learn more about how to build multi-user 3D experiences for the workplace with Microsoft Mesh, which I'm sure, as most of you already know, is generally available for Microsoft Teams. So you'll be some of the first to learn about how to utilize and leverage its capabilities and toolkit to build your own 3D experiences for the workplace. And before we introduce the Microsoft team and its partners on the panel, I want to remind you all to join us for AWE USA on June 18th through the 20th for the first time ever in Long Beach, California. So you're not going to miss this event. Most of you know us for all of our 14 years of history in Santa Clara and in the Bay Area, bringing the XR community together. And so you're not going to miss the first time ever in Long Beach, California for even more networking, fun, and everything else that the event has to offer. So now on to the reason that everyone's here today. I'm really excited to introduce you all to Desiree Lockwood with the Microsoft Mesh team to tell you more.
Thanks, Nate. We are really excited to be here for AWE Nights. I know that you and I have been talking about doing this something together for a long time now, and I'm really glad to make this happen for my favorite topic, which is Microsoft Mesh. And as you mentioned, just became recently generally available. I'm joining you from Cologne, Germany, but my colleagues Tyler and Rebecca are at Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, Washington, and they're going to be hosting our viewers today. So without further delay, let's head over to the mothership where our presentation should be starting soon.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session introducing Microsoft Mesh. My name is Anna. I'm an event planner for Reactor, joining you from Redmond, Washington. Before we start, I have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in our chat, We ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We will be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer live. The session is recorded and will be available to view on demand within 24 to 48 hours. I'll now turn it over to our hosts for introductions. Thank you.
Hey, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Burke Aguero. I'm a Senior Product Manager on the Microsoft Mesh Developer Platform team.
And I'm Tyler Adams, Principal PM Manager, also on the Developer Platform team.
We're so excited to be here with you today, introducing you to Microsoft Mesh, which is now generally available. With Mesh, you can create fully customized multi-user 3D experiences, giving you a powerful, imaginative medium for addressing business needs and delighting users. So today we want to give all the creators, developers, and designers out there a better understanding of what opportunities Mesh creates, what challenges Mesh solves, and how you can use Mesh to meet the needs of your organization or your customers. So Tyler, tell me about the factors that contributed to developing Microsoft Mesh. What is it actually solving for creators?
Well, we know that businesses are facing a unique set of challenges today. As the way people work has changed, remote workers and hybrid teams are prevalent. 50% of people have returned to the office, but only 27% of teams are all in the same location. Employees are embracing hybrid work environments, with 73% of workers saying they want flexible and remote options. Still, not having everyone in the same physical location creates some challenges. 43% of workers feel disconnected to their company, and 68% of decision makers find team cohesion and connections challenging. Now let's shift gears and think about immersive technologies. 3D solutions are particularly well suited for certain business challenges, like visualizing 3D models and simulations, envisioning spaces that are difficult to access or don't yet exist, and immersing people in stories that capture the imagination. Perhaps topping that list is facilitating deeper human connection and collaboration across physical distances. When we think about the rise in remote work combined with the unique nature and benefits of immersive technology, we see an opportunity to make it easier for more people to come together in shared 3D immersive spaces to get work done. With more than 50% of Gen Z and millennials envisioning doing work in the metaverse, now is the time to accelerate investment in this space. That's why we built Microsoft Mesh.
Thank you. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Luckily, immersive business solutions aren't really a new space. So, in fact, a rich ecosystem already exists that has been evolving for many years. Most professional AR and VR developers actually work on apps outside of gaming, building business solutions for things like training, product design, demos, and collaboration. However, building immersive business solutions has always been a pretty complex task. So let's look at how Mesh is making things easier for creators in this space by addressing some of the current challenges and helping energize multi-user 3D solutions. We're building Mesh in a way that encourages adoption and jumpstarts usage of immersive technologies in the workplace. Mesh is now available in the place where hundreds of millions of people already get their work done: Microsoft Teams. Teams will be the starting point for many users on their AR/VR journey. Teams commercial users have access to ready-made immersive spaces that can turn any meeting into a 3D experience with just a few clicks. This means there are virtually no barriers for these folks to experience immersive spaces with their colleagues and start to understand the benefits of 3D collaboration. Users who experience Mesh through Teams will have the same avatars and similar controls to when they access the custom spaces that you built, providing users with some continuity and making it easier to onboard to new virtual environments.
With Mesh, users on typical workplace PCs can participate in the same immersive experience with other colleagues in PC or VR headsets. That means businesses don't need large investments in new hardware to get started, and there are more options for the user. For companies who want to enable virtual reality solutions, Mesh supports Meta Quest VR headsets. With Meta Quest for Business, these VR devices work with Microsoft Intune to enable rich endpoint management. We're also very excited that Mesh will support Apple Vision Pro in the coming year. As a developer, there's guidance for optimizing content for different devices, but the processes to make that content available for PC and Quest users is the same.
We've also heard from developers that even after creating successful proofs of concept, their organizations have sometimes been hesitant to take the next step. This is often due to their company's policies and considerations for privacy, security, and compliance, which we take very seriously. Since Mesh is part of the Microsoft 365 family, it's been built in conformance with the same security, privacy, and compliance standards that you would expect from any Microsoft enterprise product. Mesh provides flexible control of company data with identity, access, and permissions handled similarly to other Microsoft applications in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And users never need to leave the corporate network.
I'm excited about the way we've addressed keeping company data safe in Mesh. We're also trying to ensure creators can be productive quickly using familiar tools, simplifying difficult tasks. Mesh supports Unity and therefore popular 3D modeling tools like Maya, 3ds Max, Cinema 4D, Houdini, ZBrush, and Blender, so you can build content in a familiar way and leverage existing assets and Unity scenes. To make your environment available for users in your tenant, you don't need to engage in multiple third-party publishing sites. Users access Mesh from the Microsoft Mesh app, available for PC and Quest. You just need to expose your content through that app. This function is handled in just a few clicks with the Mesh Uploader, a tool that is initiated from directly within Unity. To make it easier to get started, we've got a library of samples that you can leverage to kickstart your projects, and we put heavy focus on public developer documentation. We try to ensure that once you start exploring with Mesh, it won't take long to be productive. Should we take a look at what's available out of the box?
Yeah, let's do it. So Mesh automatically handles many of the biggest challenges of enabling immersive multi-user experiences, including giving people a real sense of co-presence. First, Mesh provides a highly customizable avatar system that is built for an inclusive workplace. Users can create hundreds of combinations and refine details to create an avatar that expresses their physical attributes, wardrobe, accessories, religious garb, prosthetics, or even makeup, allowing them to show up in a way that best represents themselves. These avatars are tied to the user's work credentials through Microsoft Entra ID and are carried through all of the user's Mesh experiences across PC, VR, and Teams. Spatial audio enables a rich audio landscape that matches the distance and directionality of sound in the physical world, so that participants can intuitively sense where others are in the virtual world. This helps participants feel fully immersed and enables multiple discussions and side conversations to happen in the same place at the same time. Mesh is also multi-user by default, receiving input from all users and applying changes to all clients, so users stay in sync and can share experiences together.
In addition to those features that help users feel like they're together in a virtual space, we also have out-of-the-box tools for delivering a successful event, like scheduling and customizing and orchestrating on the day of. When scheduling, event creators can designate roles for invitees, including core organizer. Events held in a single room can have up to 16 attendees and can be scheduled for up to 24 hours. For large events, up to 200 people, participants are grouped into multiple identical rooms that are sort of like how you might manage overflow in a physical event. These large events can be scheduled for up to 3 hours. Invitees will see the calendar invites in Microsoft Teams and in Microsoft Outlook and can click through to their events from there. Before an event, organizers can customize an experience by adding images, videos, or a screen share to any environment. They can later trigger certain behavior in those objects, for instance, start, play, stop, and loop. During the event, host tools help an organizer deliver engaging, dynamic experiences seamlessly to all attendees. With broadcasting, a host can ensure certain people and activities are shared across all overflow rooms. If an organizer will be running similar events again, for instance, a monthly update, they can save their customizations for use as a template. Now that we've heard a bit about what Mesh can do, let's dive deeper into what you can do with Mesh.
Mesh Toolkit supports developers across the development process, from graphics tools that provide things like performance scripts and shaders during the design phase, to the uploader we mentioned earlier that simplifies things once you're ready to publish. Our goal was to make it easier to bring your vision to life from beginning to end. Now, let's take a deeper look at some of the tools that can help you develop and optimize your projects. Web slates provide a secure, streamlined way to add and interact with web content, bringing the power of WebView 2 technology to environment creators. Add a URL to a screen anywhere in a virtual mesh environment for all users to experience. Mesh Interactables provide a system for configuring objects with Unity scripts that define interaction with avatars and other objects. They allow event attendees to select, grab, hold, and throw objects. You can enable avatars to anchor to objects so they can move along with them. So, for example, if you needed to catch an elevator or follow a guided tour. You can also enable avatars to tether to stationary objects like a seat or a podium, making it easier for them to stay in place for things like discussions or presentations. Finally, you can add travel points to define where an avatar will show up in an environment when they first join, and make it easier for them to travel in groups. Event organizers who are hosting a meeting or an event can trigger things that are designated as controllable. For instance, they might play, pause, or loop a video or another sequenced animation that you've created. When hosting large events in multiple rooms, the organizer can also broadcast their actions for everyone else to see.
Now let's look at how we can add logic to our projects and make them more dynamic. Visual scripting runs client-side to support simple interactivity without writing code and with near zero latency responsiveness. It's based on Unity visual scripting with features designed to enhance mesh development. You can use visual scripting to add interactivity, connect triggers to actions, and insert custom logic to your scene without writing code. With cloud scripting, you can introduce live backend data from your company or public sources, or add complex logic with Mesh cloud scripting. The scripts you write in C# are .NET apps and can call any .NET Core API, access NuGet libraries, and leverage best-in-class tools to power your experiences. Both visual scripting and cloud scripting automatically sync across clients and work on their own in combination or with one another.
With Mesh Physics, you can make your creations act in whatever realistic or fantastic way that you'd like, adding life and interactivity to your scene. Use Mesh Physics to control things like gravity and other forces that affect objects. Make them bouncy or sticky, allow users to grab and hold objects, teleport them, or even make them explode. These are just some of the effects that Mesh Physics supports. Mesh Physics also supports the full feature set of Unity Physics and integrates with Mesh Visual Scripting so that you can define custom, complex physics behaviors. Mesh Physics doesn't require any server-side logic, and it handles all low-latency peer-to-peer synchronization for you, meaning things like network hiccups or late joiners are handled automatically. And finally, since Mesh Physics uses transform compression and it's built on a super efficient C++ core, it minimally impacts bandwidth and CPU for each client.
And we have a lot of samples available now, including the Physics Effects Gallery, that has a ton of mini games and working examples you can leverage in your projects. Mesh also supports you as you iterate and optimize performance. Let's look at some of the tools that can help. For a quick review, the emulator allows you to see how your scene looks from the perspective of multiple users from Unity Play Mode. Mesh performance tools can help you accelerate downloads, increase user comfort, and even improve battery life and fidelity without adding significantly to your dev time or affecting security. The performance profiler validates performance at runtime by monitoring draw calls and CPU-GPU usage. And the Content Performance Analyzer catches performance bottlenecks during authoring by identifying content optimization opportunities and automatically correcting them for you. I hope we've provided you a helpful overview of how you can use Mesh to accelerate your immersive multi-user projects. Customers in our early adoption programs have already been using Mesh to create a variety of experiences, including employee onboarding, training, hosting large events, and running simulations.
I actually had a chance to talk to some of these partners about how they're already using Mesh, and they shared some really valuable learnings that I think could help others. Should we take a look?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm here with Edward Zemba from Link to VR. Hey, Edward, nice to see you.
Hey, Rebecca, it's great to see you too.
Yeah, where are we today? What is this space? And tell me a little bit about your company.
Well, we are here on the decks of the Global Mercy, which is part of Mercy Ships. And of course, Link to VR, we are a spatial computing agency that has had the opportunity to work with Mercy Ships along with Dell Technologies and many of the other partners who have helped bring this to life and to make it possible for us to be here today.
Wonderful. So yeah, we're on the deck of a ship, but what is this ship for?
Well, of course, as you can probably imagine, Mercy Ships, which has this just amazing mission of traveling the world. And when I say world, I mean to some of the most remote aspects, Rebecca, of the world, where they go and they help transform lives in ways that is just remarkable. So they'll go into port and they will provide free healthcare to the families, to children, many of whom who have never had healthcare in their entire life before. And we're talking transformative surgeries that truly just transform communities.
That's really incredible. It's awesome to hear that this digital twin is bringing the mission of the Mercy ship to all kinds of audiences that can't be there physically. I mean, that being said, I'd love to see kind of what an event would look like in this space and learn about the tools that you use to run things.
In that spirit, why don't we go ahead and take a trip up to the upper deck area? I'd love to have Regina, who for Link to VR, she helps, really lead up a lot of our event productions. So Regina, can you share a little bit about your experience working with Microsoft Mesh?
Absolutely. Thank you, Edward. There's a lot to be excited about with the event production tools here in Mesh. Things like being able to screen share with a slide deck presentation or a video. That's really exciting for the audience and the presenters participating in that type of program. And then also things like the hand raise feature in the megaphone. All of that really helps to be able to simulate, the sort of things we love to do in physical events as well, like questions and answers, and just really able to engage with their audience.
Is there somewhere else on the ship that you can show me? I'd love to see more of it, and I'd love to learn how you really built all of it.
Absolutely. Let's go check it out. Well, welcome everybody to the bridge of the Global Mercy. This is a restricted area, actually, for the Global Mercy. So this is a space that lots of folks who do physically get on the vessel itself don't necessarily get an opportunity to visit, which is, of course, one of the reasons why Mercy Ships asked that we create a space like this so that they can share it with their donors, with their volunteers, and, of course, most importantly, for the folks that may someday be in here running and steering the Global Mercy. So with that, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about how this came into being.
Yeah, thank you so much for showing me this space. It's really cool to get this like behind the scenes look of how the ship runs. Tell me about the project and how y'all built this. I understand that it was actually a super quick project that you then ported into Mesh. So tell me about that process of porting it into Mesh.
Well, I think in the world of business and enterprise, almost all projects fall into the fast track category, right? It's just part of the world we're all living in. And what I would say is it was a scenario where we did need to kind of hit the ground running. So we looked for the most efficient ways we could really get things going as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm actually going to throw it over to Mark, who helps lead up the development side of things for Link to VR. And Mark, can you talk a little bit about that question?
Yeah, so it was, as we were saying earlier, it's actually very simple transition from some of the older platforms to this platform. For example, with AltSpace, near the end of the life cycle, they were using the URP, or the Universal Render Pipeline, for their lighting system. And that is a really nice optimized pipeline to begin with. and Mesh uses the same pipeline. So it's actually really quick for us to take our environment and just bring it into Mesh and upload it. Once we understood pipeline for Mesh and how you do the uploads, how you create environments and templates, once we got our head wrapped around that, it was a pretty simple port from one environment to the next. And Mesh also added a new tool called the CPA, which is the Content Performance Analyzer. And that has been the biggest help, I think, out of everything we've seen so far. And it basically allows me to just place a camera in the environment and point it in a specific direction and say, how is it performing when an avatar is standing, like, say, where I am standing, facing that way? Does it perform really well in PC? Does it perform really well in Android? And it gives me a readout for each one, so I can sort of dial into what's the most important. And so what we found out was that if Android is having an issue, we can come in and say, all right, let's dial in the lights here, or maybe we need to reduce the amount of animations in this direction, or whatever. And by doing that, it just really helped us dial in and optimize the spaces for Mesh.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that those tools were super helpful for you. CPA being built directly into the uploader, it makes optimizing your scene definitely a built-in part of the end-to-end journey. So yeah, I'm super glad to hear it. So I hear that there's maybe another restricted area on the ship that you can take us to. Should we go there now?
Let's go ahead and all take a trip to what Mercy Ships likes to call the heart of the global mercy.
Can you tell us a little bit about what this space is for? Why build the digital twin of the operating room?
The Mercy Ships family will use this space to introduce the operating room to donors and volunteers all over the world, so they can understand where a lot of their funds, are going. And
what is coming up next for this incredible space? You said it's pretty new. It's a good way to orient donors and guests. But yeah, what do you see next for the project?
Sure. Well, for the future, I'd actually go ahead and throw it over to Giuseppe, who could tell you a little bit about some of what we're talking with Mercy Ships about for the coming year.
And as you can see right now, a lot of the equipment in here, like the lights, the patient monitors, the equipment, it's all very stationary. The idea is to actually add some interactability, so allowing the doctors to come in and actually kind of get a feel of the space, where things are, pick things up, move them around, make them somewhat more interactive, as well as bringing in some on-demand tour videos, so that when people come in, they can actually, see some videos that maybe show them, what the space, looks like when it's busy, where people usually kind of stand, where they go for certain equipment, and have them be able to kind of do that tour whenever they want. So if the actual physical operating room is in use, people can still get those tours and not have to worry about, utilizing the restricted space while it's physically being used.
Thank you again so much to both of you for the tour today. This space is really incredible. It's been awesome learning about the mission of the Mercy Ship and also how you all built it using Mesh. So thank you again so much. This has been such a treat.
Nice. It's amazing what Mercy Ships is doing to deliver medical services to underserved places around the world. It's great that Link to VR was able to bring their existing Unity scene to Mesh rather quickly, and they found the Content Performance Analyzer useful in making the experience more performant.
Yeah, it really is just such a great cause. And I love that they were able to use the host tools to help run current and future fundraising events. So, I also had a chance to connect with another studio who had a very different focus for their Mesh experience.
Hi, Rebecca. Welcome into Winter Wonderland.
Hi, Christian. Thanks for having me. This space is so cool.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about Hololux. What does your company do, and what prompted you to build this amazing space?
Yeah, at Hololux, we lead some of the world's most famous brands on their journey into a digital immersive future using latest technologies like Microsoft Mesh, mixed reality, and AI. So our mission is to foster innovation in the digital era, empowering communities and businesses with cutting-edge technology.
So, why did you build this amazing Winter Wonderland space?
The Winter Wonderland project, our goal was to connect people joyfully, fostering spontaneous interactions and teamwork. It was about creating unique intercultural experiences, like introducing colleagues from India to the fun of building a snowman. This project wasn't just about technology, it was about bringing people together in a delightful, unexpected ways.
What kind of skills were needed to build such an amazing space?
Yeah, our team included a concept artist, 3D artist, a technical artist, and a Unity developer. The concept artist envisioned the space, the 3D artist brought it to life, the technical artist bridged design and functionality, and the Unity developer made it interactive. This mix of skill was vital in creating an enchanting and interactive Winter Wonderland. But hey, let's talk with them directly. They are currently building a snowman in our Winter Wonderland. So let's go to them. They are there.
Awesome. Yeah, let's check it out. Hey, y'all. How's it going? Can we join?
Hey there, sure.
So, I mean, I love building snowman in real life, but what made you think of adding it to the Winter Wonderland?
I think it just totally makes sense because everybody loves snowmen and it's something intuitive that you know from real life. So you can just do it together as a shared memorable experience. Yeah, and you don't have to think of how to do it.
That's awesome. Can you tell me about how you built this?
Yes, it's just the physics-based components like the sticky body and the interactable system of mesh, everything combined and thrown into it.
And I love that you can reuse the same snowballs. Like you can roll them around on the ground to make them bigger and then shrink them. Tell me about how you built that behavior into it.
That behavior is actually with some visual scripting on top of it. So we combine the visual scripting and the mesh physics just for more possibilities.
That's so cool.
But there's even more to discover here in the Winter Wonderland. So why we don't move on to the big mesh mystery?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, let's check it out.
So if you want, you can just try to use the cannon. I just take it, put it in the cannon, and then you can aim and press the button.
Oh, nice. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, hit.
Woohoo!
And that's how it should also maybe be in real life.
Yeah, that would make decorating so easy. All right, this is definitely more complicated than just the physics sticky body. Tell me about how you built this cannon.
This cannon is actually built with visual scripting. So there's a physics example package included with the toolkit. And there's actually a cannon mini game. And we took the idea of the mini game, took the starting point of it, and then we enhanced the visual script for shooting our custom Christmas balls here.
I'm so glad the physics samples helped inspire you and you were able to even reuse some of that code directly here. Did the team have experience with visual scripting beforehand?
Not the whole team, actually. So me, for example, I have a Unity developer background, but I was completely new to visual scripting. But because everything works very similar, like in the Unity way, it's quite easy and quick to learn. It's just like you would do it in Unity, just with some additional features and some capabilities of Mesh.
This is such a fun experience to decorate a tree collaboratively, and it's really cool that Mesh physics and visual scripting can work together to make this really easy.
Let's grab a cocoa to warm us up. Just follow me.
Cool. Yes, hot cocoa, just what I needed. Thank you. Christian, what is next in this wonderful space?
We built that space to inspire artists, developers, and users to see the possibilities about Microsoft Mesh and what you actually can build with this. And so we plan to host more events like this and publish more video content and learnings and how to build spaces like this.
Do you have any advice for people looking to get started with 3D development, maybe trying to build a space like this themselves?
My recommendation is check out the examples. There are really a lot of great content. There's a super cool example about how physics work. We used a lot of this stuff here to just copy it in that space and tweaked it a little bit. It's really a great start for you with Learn Microsoft Mesh.
Cool. Yeah, we really definitely encourage people to just get in there and get their hands dirty with the toolkit and the resources there. So it's awesome to hear that those were useful for y'all in building this space. And you've created such a wonderful space with fun interactions, and the atmosphere is really effective. So thank you so much for giving me a tour today. This has been really, really fun.
Yeah, thank you for visiting us, and cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Wow, so how was that sleigh ride?
You know, I enjoyed that interview so much, I didn't even want to leave the space. Hololux was so creative the way that they combined mesh physics and visual scripting, and they created such unique activities for groups. It was so much fun.
Hololux provided some great tips about how they got started with Mesh. We can learn even more from them as they'll be joining us in the live Q&A. Before we head there, let's take a quick look at how you can get started. If you're just getting started, head to aka.ms Mesh Creator for pointers to all of the most relevant resources, including how-to videos, documentation, blogs, and sample projects. Speaking of, if you're brand new to Mesh, the Mesh 101 sample and tutorial is the absolute best place to start. You can start building right away with the Mesh toolkit for free. But to upload interactive environments and explore them with others, all participants need a Teams Premium license or a 6-month trial that you can add to an existing M365 plan. To learn more about Microsoft M365 licensing and business plans, visit microsoft.com/mesh.
Thank you again so much for joining us, everyone. It looks like it's time for the Q&A. So we're going to jump into Mesh with our friends from Link to VR and Hololux, and we'll see you there soon.
See you there.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So glad you joined us for the Q&A. We're coming at you live from inside an immersive space in Microsoft Teams. So I'm here with Christian Glessner from Hololux and Edward Zemba from Link to VR. We've got a couple questions coming in from all the different channels. So let's just go ahead and jump into the questions.
Great. I'm going to start with a few questions for our guests today. Edward, you've been working on spatial computing solutions for a long time. What can you tell us about the process of working with Mesh on these types of projects?
Sure. So first off, Tyler, I just want to say thank you for having us here. This is an outstanding experience, and thank you for everybody for joining us in this truly immersive space, whether it's 2D or fully three-dimensional. But to answer your question, Tyler, we generally have really enjoyed the experience with Mesh in that Microsoft has certainly upped the game of what is possible in the way of virtual and remote events. So yeah, no, our enterprise customers in particular are very interested looking at different ways they can leverage this technology.
Amazing, that's great.
Awesome. So I have a question for Christian. In the Winter Wonderland space, you mentioned that you have a passion for helping other people learn about Mesh. So tell me what you've been up to in that space along that path.
Yeah, sure, Rebecca. So yeah, I really love, I'm an MVP now for 14 years, and so it's a lot about community work. And so I founded also the project ilovemesh.com, where I want to teach to people, because the adoption of all the platforms will rise when you have more people developing on that platform, people coming in. And so there's a lot to do because it's a brand new product, and I'm really happy to share my passion with all of you.
I love that. Yeah, thank you.
And Rebecca, we mentioned earlier that there's a few different paths to getting started in developing with Mesh. What should folks consider when choosing a path?
Yeah, so there's a couple options depending on where you are in your developer journey. You can start from a new or existing Unity project that you have, and then you can find all our tools, all our documentation to add to that project and upload it to Mesh at aka.ms/mesh creator. Or if you just want to get started as quickly as possible, we recommend you check out the Mesh 101 sample. That will get you going faster than anything else. So yeah, lots of paths to get started, but all of those can be found at our documentation. Awesome. So I have a question now coming from Miguel on the M365 YouTube channel. So this is a question for Tyler. How are people able to join using Quest headsets when the enterprise has conditional access policies that restrict use of consumer devices?
Thanks, Rebecca. It's a really great question, Miguel. We actually have some documentation on this on the Mesh documentation site that talks about conditional access and Quest headsets that details some Quest features that are available that may help organizations in rolling out support for Mesh on Quest devices, including Quest support for MDM and Intune. But I also might ask, Edward, examples that you may have of how you've been able to roll out Quest devices within your company and for your customers.
I think that this is actually a great segue to the question of, how do you get started working with a project in Mesh in the first place, both with the hardware and, of course, just getting more familiar with what Mesh has to offer. And I think part of the secret there is starting sort of one step at a time in a small group. Don't necessarily try to launch a project with 1,000 headsets out of the gate, get a group of maybe 5 or 10 folks together and just get started. Also, the other element I would add is that Mesh, has really done an outstanding job of leveraging the 2D access to this space. So really kind of look at it from both of those sides and then work within the enterprise systems that, of course, typically there are many layers to those systems to get all of the authorizations in place that are necessary to be able to leverage the technology. But really a big part of it, honestly, is just starting one step at a time.
Yeah, that's great. There's lots of different ways to sort of get set up and get up and running with Mesh. Yeah, with that, Rebecca, I might ask a question that's coming in from Pat Dooley from AWE Nites. Specifically, are there recording tools in Mesh? And does it give the capability to remove name tags?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pat Dooley. We get that question a lot. So there are not Mesh-specific recording tools yet. That's something that a lot of folks have asked for, and it's certainly informing our product plans, something we want to get to super soon. A lot of folks have had success with third-party recording tools, even just the Windows screen share. And in terms of removing name tags, we don't offer that at all either. For privacy and security, you just kind of want to know who people are in the space. But yeah, recording and better broadcast tools are something we're working on for sure.
Another question for Rebecca. What version of the universal render pipeline for Unity is this for? And the features that can be radically different depending on those different versions. This again coming from Pat Dooley from AWE Nites.
Yeah, great question. So the version of Unity that we recommend is explicitly called out in our docs. So we recommend you just snap to that version and make sure you're on the version that we specify there.
Great.
Rebecca, can I add something to the video question earlier?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
I just want to add to folks that are watching and maybe they're new to this platform and these concepts. And I know that Christian does the same thing with his team, and that is that, folks tend to get caught up in the three-dimensionality of going into the virtual space. And for sure, that's a very big part of it. And it creates that sense of presence that we all talk about. At the same time, when you're working with large organizations with a global workforce, you know, one of the real benefits that this technology offers is the ability to basically up-level your traditional webinar, right? So you don't necessarily have to think how you're doing all the recordings inside the environment. You can use you could stream Teams, and folks can actually record it just like you would record a traditional webinar, like we're doing today. So there's a lot of ways to be able to bring this technology in without having to feel like you have to bring everybody in with headsets and that sort of thing. And you could scale it pretty quickly. So just wanted to add that from the video side.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. So I have a question for Tyler coming from Anthony on the M365 YouTube channel. Will interactivity be integrated into Mesh? That way you don't have to have custom code interactions.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually do support interactivity out of the box that you can then access with our visual scripting and cloud scripting to leverage that interactivity in your custom solutions. In addition to that, we currently have and coming soon will have more samples that help in creating interactivity in your experiences in common ways. And then beyond that, richer documentation on how to customize those things further. Also, any additional insights from those that have been building sort of interactive solutions on Mesh?
Christian, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so I wasn't sure. Maybe the question was also regards if there's a visual designer and a world editor, so I'm not really sure about this. But yeah, as you mentioned already, with the visual scripting, you can build things and then you have that interactivity. You put that prefab in the Unity, and then, you know, you upload that world, and then the things are interactive. We have later on an after party. And I use the playables feature, and actually I use them to spawn a lot of interactive things. So we will play with lightsabers, we will play the many different games, and we can bring that in. But I think there's a larger need for bringing in more interactive tools and even environments. So we are also planning maybe to make a little marketplace where people can build games or environments so that you have more reusability.
That's a common question that we receive from enterprise and for businesses in general, is the ability to quickly create events with interactive experiences. So again, I think that's one of the strengths with Mesh, is the ability to really do both, take advantage of some of what's quickly available, but then also have the options of creating custom experiences that are built around a particular business need or outcome that they're looking to highlight. So there's a nice balance there. But I will agree with Christian. I think as this technology advances, a lot of that's just going to get easier, simpler. Marketplaces are going to expand. It's an exciting time.
Totally agree. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, one more question for Tyler, coming from Ashwini Naik. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, on the M365 YouTube channel. What are some of the devices that Mesh is currently supported on?
Yeah, so Mesh currently supports MetaQuest devices and PC. But we care deeply about making Mesh accessible across the most important devices for you, your business, and your scenarios. And so we're very mindful of expanding the reach of Mesh to new endpoints. We announced earlier today that Apple Vision Pro is coming in the next year, but certainly are open to feedback on the most important devices that we should consider bringing Mesh to next. This is a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, so at this point, I also would... my favorite here would be definitely the browser, because I think many people have also issues like we ourselves. We have half the company on MacBooks. And so we're really looking forward for more endpoints in Mesh. I think this would also help to bring more people in.
Yeah,
but I think the product group is well aware of that feedback.
Yeah, no, that's really good feedback. And I can't necessarily disclose timelines, but I will share that browser is sort of top of our list of considerations of endpoints to bring Mesh to next.
I will add that when you're deploying events, keeping in mind if you're new to this technology, there are actually sometimes benefits to limiting how many devices you're deploying at your first event, because as you're going across platform and whatnot, you're adding some additional variables. So being able to simplify it and keep it to 1 or 2 devices when you're first getting started, again, is a nice first step.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. Goes back to what you said earlier, like just baby steps, take everything one step at a time. So in that vein, actually, I'd like to ask Christian, Edward, Tyler, open question to all of you. Are there any last words of advice you'd like to share with our viewers today?
Christian, you want to go first?
Edward, you go first.
No problem.
I'm not sure if then is enough time for me.
Yeah, right. I think one of the elements I would look at is, be patient with yourself, with your team, with the folks that you're working with. Understand this is new technology and it's going to take folks a minute to get their head around it and understand it. We are going through a truly transformative moment in time. I think everybody can feel that right now with everything that's happening, both in the spatial side of computing and then, of course, Gen AI and everything else. So kind of give yourself some time to and give everybody a chance to get their digital legs. Once folks start to get a feel for it, it really does grow somewhat organically. But it all starts with an education. And then to that point, I would say, have fun with it. When you first get in and when you start something like what we were talking about, Christian, with the after party and things like that. Create a fun, enjoyable experience for your team. Just give them a chance to kind of get familiar with it and then build it out from there. So that would probably be one of the biggest pieces I would share.
Okay, so then from my side, yeah, I think for sure it's important to get started, and you should also leverage the 6-month trial for Mesh. But be aware, this is a one chance with 6 months. And I would suggest everyone, before you jump in that trial, you should really plan that a little bit, because you can have unlimited people, let's say 100,000 people in this. So I would suggest start with Teams Premium trial or buy some Teams Premium, prepare different cases that you want to test in your whole company. And then if you're ready for this, then I think you should take the 6 months trial, and then you can try it on a larger scale. So this would be my advice. Plan carefully the trial that you leverage that in the best way.
And be somewhat, for lack of a better word, restrictive. In other words, you typically will get a lot of folks that want to participate. I would strongly encourage, build off what Chris would say, where you pick a very specific pilot with set outcomes and objectives, and then build around that. So I can't agree enough about the 6-month trial. Take full advantage of that. That is a very unique opportunity for everybody who's on this call and taking part of this experience today.
Thank you. And then I'll add, the GA of Mesh is just an incredibly exciting moment. And it really is enabling folks to connect like never before. Showcasing some of the experiences we highlighted today, built by Christian and Edward's organizations. It enables like incredibly expressive collaboration and the creation of really rich and impactful experiences. And I'm just super excited for everything that you all will build on this platform.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that concludes our Q&A today. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. And don't forget to visit aka.ms/meshcreator to find developer resources. And as I mentioned before, I just can't wait to see what you all build.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.